Okay, so our question was, how do cells in the lung turn into cancer cells when exposed to cigarette smoke? Prior to coming up with our question, we were aware that smoking was one of the biggest causes of cancer in the world, and we wanted to find out more about lung cancer and smoking. After doing some research, we found a study that was conducted in 2011 that showed that more than 4 in 5 lung cancers are caused by smoking. Also, tobacco smoke was first shown to causing cancer in 1950. This study found that people who smoked 15 to 24 cigarettes a day had 26 times the risk of lung cancer compared to non-smokers. And people who smoke fewer than 15 cigarettes a day had 8 times the chance of getting lung cancer compared to non-smokers. This led to our question, how does the smoke of cigarettes cause lung cancer? We wanted to know how the smoke causes cells to become cancerous. Okay, so first you need to know what cancer is. Cancer is a disease where abnormal cells divide without control and they can invade other tissues. Cancer cells do not respond to the signals that regulate the growth of most cells. Next, you need to start with the question, how do cells become cancerous in the first place? Well, you see, cells become cancerous after certain mutations occur in the genes that control cell proliferation or cell growth. Most of the time, there is a mutation of the gene that codes for p53. p53 is a protein that normally detects any damage to DNA. Without this working properly, the mutations to the DNA are never detected and fixed. This means that the copies of the cells and DNA will also be mutated. Also, cells become cancerous when they don't respond to the external or internal regulators. The stages of the cell cycle are the G0 phase, G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, and M phase. Cancer cells skip the G0 phase, which is the resting phase of the cell cycle. Therefore, they are reproducing rapidly faster than normal cells. And so they are constantly in the process of cell division. In this image, you can see that the cancer cells will go from the G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, M phase, and then go right back into the G1 phase, while regular cells will go through the G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, M phase, and then will go into the G0 phase where it is resting and there's no proliferation. In this image, you can see how the cancerous cells are dividing more rapidly than the regular cells, and therefore it is forming a tumor. Okay, so now that we know how cells can become cancerous, we can move on to our question. How does the cigarette smoke turn cells in the lung into cancer cells? Well, you see, cigarette smoke contains many carcinogens. Carcinogens are cancer-causing substances. Cigarette smoke is known to contain carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, hydrogen cyanide, and ammonia, and many other chemicals. There are over 70 known carcinogens that are in cigarette smoke. These cancer-causing substances damage or change the cell's DNA. So when inhaled, it changes the lung tissue almost immediately. At first, your body may be able to repair the damage that this cigarette smoke does, but every time your lungs are exposed to the cigarette smoke, the cells that line your lungs are also increasingly damaged. Over time, the damage may cause cells to act abnormally, and eventually cancer may develop. This cancer may develop because when your DNA is damaged, a cell can begin growing out of control, and therefore it can create a cancer tumor. So, how do carcinogens cause cancer? Well, carcinogens damage DNA and they change the DNA sequence. Therefore, they are mutagens. Mutagens are something that causes a genetic mutation. Cancer is caused because of mutations in the cell's DNA. Therefore, the carcinogens cause the cancer. Also, the tobacco leaves used in making cigarettes and cigars may contain radioactive material. The amount of radioactive material depends on the soil the plants were grown in and the fertilizers that were used. But what this means is that the smoke contains small amounts of radioactive material also. So when a smoker inhales, they take the smoke into their lungs. Over time, these radioactive particles will build up in their lungs, and it can soon mean a big dose of radiation. This may be another key factor in smokers getting lung cancer. Here is the bibliography